Imagine this. The screen flickers like an old CRT. The music kicks in, rhythmic, punchy, unmistakably retro. And suddenly, you're not in 2025 anymore. You're 7 years old again, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, eyes wide, Power Rangers on. TV, a juice box in one hand, and now, that childhood is back. But this time, it's playable. Welcome to Power Rangers, Rita's Rewind, a game that doesn't ask permission to hijack your nostalgia. It just grabs it, spins it around, and body slams it into a pixelated battlefield. But here's the twist. Is it good because it's a solid game? Or do we only think it's good because we remember how it made us feel? This isn't just a retro-style beat-em-up. It's an emotional time machine disguised as a side-scroller, and the question hanging over every punch, every Zord, every glitchy voice line is this real fun? Or just a trick of memory? There's something weirdly intimate about returning to a world you thought you left behind. Like bumping into your old self in a dream and realizing they're still in there, waiting to morph. So today, we're not just reviewing a game, we're confronting nostalgia and asking, can a pixelated punch from the past still hit you right in the heart? Let's find out. Let's be honest. When you hear licensed Power Rangers game, your brain probably flinches a little. You brace for stiff controls, awkward animations, and a rushed nostalgia cash grab slapped onto a cartridge. We've been burned before. Too many times, but here's the surprise. Rita's Rewind doesn't suck. In fact, it's kind of awesome. This game knows exactly what it is, and it leans into it hard. It doesn't try to reinvent the genre. Instead, it focuses on two things that every beat-em-up lives or dies by. Crisp, readable pixel art, and a soundtrack that punches harder than you do. And guess what? It nails both. The sprite work, it's surprisingly detailed. Chunky, colorful, easy to follow, even when the screen turns into a pixel riot of explosions and enemies. You can actually see what's happening, even when chaos erupts, and that's not easy to pull off. The music, though. That's where it hooks you deep. It's not just background noise, it's adrenaline. It turns a button mash into a boss fight anthem, tracks that feel like they were ripped straight from a Saturday morning fever dream. And the result? It doesn't. Just look old school. It feels old school in the best way. If you grew up humming that iconic theme or flipping over your couch pretending it was a Zord, this game's opening hour, it hits you like a Morphin blast of serotonin, and it only gets weirder from here. So here's the setup. 15 stages, 5 chapters. One mission, walk right and punch everything that moves. Power Rangers, Rita's Rewind doesn't try to complicate things. This is classic belt-scrolling arcade action, and it wears that identity proudly. You march forward as one of the iconic Rangers, laying into waves of Putty Patrol foot soldiers, breaking crates, grabbing power-ups, and occasionally smashing into a boss that looks like it crawled out of a fever dream from the 90s. There's something beautifully primal about it. No open-world maps, no gear systems, no XP trees, just you, your fists, and whatever wild nonsense Rita Repulsa throws your way next. And it works. Because when a beat-em-up is done right, simplicity becomes satisfaction. But you know what kicks it up a notch? Couch co-op. Grab a buddy, hand them a controller, and suddenly this game becomes a nostalgia-fueled tag team spectacle. Beating up monsters with your best friend on a Saturday night. That's peak weekend energy. But here's the twist. This isn't quite the full-on team experience you might expect. Because just when things are getting good, some weird limitations creep in. And depending on what platform you're playing on, that legendary Power Rangers team-up might not be as epic or as crowded as it should be. Yeah, we need to talk about co-op. Because what's here is fun, but what's missing, that's where things get complicated. So, you're ready? You've got your squad, 5 friends, 5 Rangers. You're dreaming of that chaotic full-squad couch co-op mayhem, fists flying, morphers glowing, teamwork flowing like it's 1995 again, but then the game taps you on the shoulder and says, actually, you can only play with one other person right now. Wait, what? Yep. On PlayStation, the version we played, you're capped at 2 players. No 5-player chaos. No full Ranger squad. Just you and one buddy. And that dream of shouting, "It's Morphin time" in unison with your crew? Yeah, not happening yet. Even weirder? Other platforms let you do more. Kind of. Local 5-player co-op is supported on some systems, but PlayStation's stuck at 4 max due to one of Sony's mysterious multiplayer rules. Online play, available on PlayStation and Steam, but not on Xbox or Switch. Not yet, anyway. Devs say it's coming soon, but right now, it's a weird patchwork of who can play with whom and how many at once. It's the kind of setup that makes you ask, wait, how many Rangers are we allowed to be? And emotionally, it stings. Because this is Power Rangers. A show about unity, teamwork, being stronger together. But here, when you try to assemble your full force, the game holds you back. It's not broken, but it's not what it could be. And that gap, you feel it. Let's talk about the vibes. Power Rangers. Rita's Rewind doesn't just look retro. It feels like someone bottled the 90s, shook it up, and let it explode all over your screen. The pixel art? It's unapologetically chunky. Sprites are vibrant, expressive, and easy to read, even when the screen is swarming with chaos. There's a subtle CRT filter baked in by default, giving everything that soft, slightly fuzzy glow of an old arcade cabinet. It's optional, but honestly, it just fits. Then there's the sound. Oh, the sound! Punches land with a crunchy, bassy thwack. Explosions pop like bubble wrap soaked in Mountain Dew. And the voice acting? It's bad, on purpose. Tinny, hollow, bit crushed, like someone recorded it in a high school gym with a walkie-talkie from Radio Shack. It's dumb. It's loud. It's glorious. It sounds like it was ripped off a VHS tape in your older cousin's basement, and that's a compliment. There's love in the noise. The imperfections aren't bugs. They're texture, personality, time machine, fuel. Now, is it perfect? Not exactly. The levels themselves feel a little bland, visually safe, occasionally forgettable, but stylistically, this game knows what it is, and it sounds exactly like it should. Look, if you're gonna dive into Power Rangers nostalgia, go all in. And for a while, Rita's Rewind absolutely does. The bosses? Pulled straight from the wildest corners of Season 1. You've got your chunky mutants, your bizarre monsters, your Saturday morning fever dreams in full form. But then, you start noticing the absences, the gaps, the suspicious silence where chaos should be. Where's Pudgy Pig? Where's King Sphinx? And most importantly, where is Pumpkin Wrapper? It's like throwing a party and forgetting to invite the most iconic weirdos. We're not saying the boss lineup is bad. Far from it. It delivers some real fan favorite punches. Chunky Chicken even shows up for some comic relief. But for those of us who grew up memorizing every bizarre villain from that original run, it's hard not to feel a little let down. Like the devs were this close to perfection. And then left a few names off the guest list. It's a small thing, but for the fans, it's the kind of omission you can't unsee. A missed chance to crank the weirdness to 11. Maybe next time. With a full Pumpkin Wrapper boss battle and an anti-Ranger diss track. Please? Now here's where things could have gotten wild. The setup? Robo Rita, yes, future Rita, travels back in time to join forces with her past self. That's 2 Ritas. One mission. Rewrite history and destroy the Power Rangers once and for all. It's goofy. It's dramatic. It's the kind of plot that begs for time-warping madness. Naturally, your mind goes straight to Turtles in Time. Prehistoric dinosaurs, sci-fi cities, pirate ships, chaos across the timeline. That's what you expect from a time travel beat-em-up. But Rita's Rewind? It mostly just hangs out in the 90s. You punch through quarries, city streets, and vaguely radioactive dumps. The time crystal shows up now and then, but it's more window dressing than core mechanic. It's a story setup that screams, go nuts. But the game quietly says, nah, we're good here. Don't get us wrong, it's still fun. There's some cool visual flair and a few what year is it moments, but the time travel concept, it's underused like a turbo button that never gets pressed. And with a premise this bananas, you can't help but wish they went full multiverse mayhem. Maybe next time, devs. You've already got the 2 Ritas. Now give us the timeline chaos we deserve. Just when you think you've seen all the side-scrolling brawling this game has to offer, boom! You're in a Zord, flying through space like a Saturday morning fever dream. Suddenly you're piloting a Zord and blasting through space like it's 1994. And yeah, it's awesome. These stages feel like a direct love letter to Space Harrier. Fast, chaotic, and visually overloaded in the best way. You're dodging lasers, blowing up robots, and soaking in that crunchy, pseudo 3D goodness that screams retro arcade. And then, just as your brain starts adjusting to Zord mode, bike levels slam onto the screen like a Battletoad's nightmare. Explosions, highway chases, flying debris. It's non-stop sensory overload. The best part? These wild detours actually work. They break up the rhythm of the core beat-em-up gameplay without feeling like throwaway gimmicks. They're brief, punchy, and just chaotic enough to keep things fresh without wearing out their welcome. Is it polished to perfection? Not really. Are the levels wildly varied? Not exactly. But the energy, the vibe? It's the kind of joyful madness that makes you lean in closer and say, wait, what the hell is going on and why am I loving it? And then, the Megazord shows up. You'd think this is where the game goes full epic, right? The towering robot. The giant boss battles. The ultimate Power Rangers power fantasy. But instead, this is where things start to wobble. The Megazord fights drop you into a first-person punch-out in style minigame where you press left or right to dodge, string together punches into combos, and eventually build up enough energy to unleash the power sword and end the fight. Sounds cool on paper, but in practice, it's clunky, repetitive, and especially in co-op, kind of a mess. Imagine trying to pass a controller mid-boss fight because someone missed a dodge. Yeah, it gets ugly fast. That's right. If you get hit, control automatically switches to the next player. So what happens? Player 1 gets hit. Switch. Player 2 doesn't know what's happening. Gets hit again. Switch back. And suddenly, your Megazord fight turns into a frustrating hot potato game of trial and error. With one player, it's tolerable. With two, annoying. With more than that, a full-on coordination nightmare. The idea had potential. It should have been the big payoff. Instead, it becomes the section you dread replaying. The controls are stiff, the dodging feels too tight, and the epic moment just fizzles out. Honestly, it's the only part of the game that feels actively worse the more people you add. And in a game that thrives on multiplayer chaos, that's a real problem. At its core, Rita's Rewind plays it safe. You've got your punches, dodges, screen-clearing nukes, and a few stylish combos to mix things up. And moment to moment, it feels good, tight, responsive. Exactly what you want from a retro-inspired beat-em-up. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find that there's not much underneath. Every ranger plays almost the same. Sure, they swing different weapons in some animations, but their movement, their specials, their health bars, basically carbon copies. It's like everyone's wearing a different colored helmet, but they're all the same guy underneath. There are no weapons to pick up, nothing to shake up the flow. And after you beat the game, you unlock the Green Ranger and a harder difficulty mode. That's pretty much it. No secret stages, no alternate endings, no upgrade trees or modifiers or side quests. Just roll credits and maybe do it again on hard. It's short, around 2.5 hours, and honestly, that's kind of the appeal. But still, you can't help but wish for one more layer. Just a little more incentive to come back. You're here for the ride, but once the ride ends, there's not much reason to line up again. So where does Power Rangers Rita's Rewind land? Is it deep like Streets of Rage 4? No. Is it as polished as Shredder's Revenge? Not even close. But here's the thing. It doesn't need to be. This game isn't trying to reinvent the genre. It's not chasing trends or stacking systems. It's just trying to remind you what it felt like to be a kid, when punching putties felt like the most heroic thing in the world, when the cheesiest villains were still scary, and when every episode ended with a giant robot sword and a bad one-liner. It's not a flawless game, but if you grew up screaming, it's Morphin time, this one's gonna make you smile. Yes, $35 feels steep for what's here. $20? Perfect price point. But if you've got a friend who knows how to time a dodge, and you're both in the mood to relive a little pixelated chaos, this game delivers. It's short, it's flawed, it's sometimes frustrating, but it's also colorful, cathartic, and way more charming than it has any right to be. So no, it's not perfect. But sometimes nostalgia doesn't need to be. Sometimes it just needs to punch you in the face with a smile. So maybe it's not perfect, maybe it's clunky. Maybe it's short, maybe it's missing your favorite boss. But maybe, just maybe, Power Rangers, Rita's Rewind isn't here to be perfect. Maybe it's here to remind you what joy used to feel like, what teamwork used to sound like, what Saturday mornings used to mean. It's the kind of game that makes you laugh mid-fight, that makes you yell, "No way!" when the theme music hits, that makes you call your childhood best friend and say, "Dude, we need to play this." And if a game can do that, even for a moment, then maybe, just maybe, it's worth rewinding. If you felt anything during this review, hit like, drop a comment, and share it with someone who wore Red Ranger pajamas way longer than they should have. Thanks for watching, and may your Zords always land their punches.